This thing is a disaster. I don't care about how you feel about it. Look, there's an insurance crisis in America. Let there be no doubt. People are struggling to find access to quality health insurance. We should deal with that. But this approach is a disaster. No matter how you feel about it, it's a disaster. It cannot be implemented in time. And you don't think that's looming over our economy? I just left a meeting right now with an owner of a chain of restaurants. They're worried about it. They don't know what to make of it yet. If you ask them, what's it going to look like for you next year? They don't know. They don't know. We're in July already, folks. And we're going to implement this. We're going to force this on our economy. You don't think that's a disaster? You don't think that in the real world, not here in Washington or in the think tanks, you don't think that in the real world, small, mid-sized businesses and individuals are holding back on investing, are holding back on making moves? You don't think that someone who's decided, you know what, I'm going to leave my job, take my life savings, and open up a new business because I believe so much in my dream. You don't think that this uncertainty is hurting that from happening? It is. And you cannot grow your economy unless people are willing to start new businesses or grow existing businesses, and Obamacare is keeping that from happening. That's the disaster. Why would we fund a disaster? Why would we pay for something out of the American taxpayer's wallet that we know isn't going to work? So when they talk about shutting down the government, it's going to be a disaster. Obamacare threatens to shut down our economy. And so I'm telling you, this is a disaster, and we should not fund. We should not have a temporary budget around here that gives money to this thing, because it's a disaster and it won't work, and it's going to hurt people. The other thing about this debt limit that I make such a big deal about, let me tell you why. We owe $17 trillion. That's bad. That's bigger than our economy. But here's the worst part about it. There is no plan in place to ever stop that from continuing to grow. You heard right. There is no plan. This budget the Senate passed, I'm glad we passed the budget. It only makes it worse. It doesn't make it better. Where is the urgency? Where's the urgency? What are we waiting for? This isn't going to take care of itself. We're not going to win the Powerball lottery here and pay this thing off. When is someone going to step up and say it's time to solve it? I've been here now 2.5 years. If on the day I got elected you told me we'd go 2.5 years without seriously dealing with this, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have said, look, I know it's going to be hard, but we got to do something. We are now 2.5 years into this, and what they're saying is we're going to want to raise the debt limit, and we don't want any conditions. We don't want to deal with anything that fixes it. And people say, well, the debt is something that's off far in the future. It is. It is off in the future, but it's also happening now. You think when people decide I'm going to invest money to start a new business or expand an existing business, which is how you create jobs. That's how jobs are created in the private sector. If you graduated college, you went to school, you got your degree, and now you can't find a job, I'm going to tell you why you can't find a job. Because the businesses that create those jobs won't create them until all of this is figured out. People do not want to risk their hard-earned and saved money in an economy that is headed for catastrophe. Look at what's happening in Europe now. They have a debt problem. And you know how they've had to deal with it? Disruptive changes in government and tax increases. And if you think that stuff attracts investment and business, you're out of your mind. There isn't a chamber of commerce in the world that tells people, come to us. Here we have high taxes and heavy debt that will make those taxes even bigger in the future. So the bottom line is the debt limit and the fact that we don't have a solution for the debt, that is also the crisis. And we need to begin to deal with these things seriously and stop playing games around here. And someone has to draw a line in the sand, and I know that me and many of my colleagues intend to do so every chance we get. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.